This is an official Football League video, one in a series that features Race for the Championship. 60 minutes of non-stop action, captured in the only official video of the pursuit of the Football League trophy. The official and exclusive Football League video of your club's season in Division 1 relives all the games, home and away, all the goals for and against, a collectible must for every supporter. Revel in the First Division's most breathtaking goals in goals galore, and the greatest goalkeepers in action in saves galore. A brilliant 1-2 from the Football League. Welcome to the official Football League video of Sheffield United's season 1990-1991.
The league season's certainly been one hell of a season and thoroughly enjoyable and exciting, so it's one that everybody should have a look back at.
You'll see all the goals, all the games as the Blades return to Division 1 after 14 years. Sheffield United were promoted to the First Division as runners-up in Division 2. The squad at the outset included 4 close-season signings. Goalkeeper Phil Kite arrived from Bournemouth in a £25,000 move, replacing Graham Benstead, who was sold to Brentford for £70,000. Defensively, there were 2 additions: Paul Beasley, a £375,000 buy from Leyton Orient, and John Pemberton, fresh from the Crystal Palace team in the 1990 FA Cup final. He cost £250,000. Simon Webster left for Charlton. Jamie Hoyland was the only midfield addition, brought from Bury for another £250,000, the son of ex-Blade Tommy Hoyland. And the forwards were led again by last season's leading scorers Brian Deane and Tony Agana. And so to the first game back in Division 1. What a start at home to the defending champions, Liverpool.
Sheffield United have waited 14 years to see the return of First Division football, so who better to invite to the party than the champions Liverpool? But the celebration soon turned sour when goalkeeper Simon Tracy had to be stretchered off with a suspected fractured cheekbone after an unfortunate collision with Ian Rush. His replacement was fullback John Pemberton, signed from Crystal Palace in the summer, and it was his mistake that let Liverpool take the lead. John Barnes picking up the pieces after the replacement goalkeeper fumbled Whelan's innocuous through ball. A minute later and Sheffield were back in it when Brian Deane's right foot shot flew in past Grobbelaar in the Liverpool goal. Then, just when the form book looked to be going out of the window, John Barnes restored normality with a fine piece of work. Rush headed back across and Ray Houghton bundled the ball home. 2-1 Liverpool. Pemberton tried gamely, but when he couldn't decide whether to use his head or his arms, Ian Rush stole in to make it 3 and give Liverpool a slightly fortunate start to the season.
Both Derby County and Sheffield United picked up their first point, with Derby's Dean Saunders striking first in a 1-1 draw at the baseball ground. A goal born of Saunders' speed and sharpness. Into the last minute now, and the salvaging for Sheffield United done by the head of Brian Deane.
Steve Coppell's team, maintaining the momentum gained from their cup run last season, have got off to an excellent start. They dictated the early play, Ian Wright heading against the bar in the 15th minute. When Gary Thompson crashed one against the woodwork as well, 20 minutes later, it was beginning to look as if it might not be Palace's day. But justice was done 6 minutes before the interval, a cross from their new signing John Humphrey, and there was Thompson to head home from 8 yards. Sheffield United threatened briefly in the second half, but after taking only 1 point from their first 3 games, the Yorkshiremen know they're in for a long, hard season.
Well, Manchester City are a much better outfit under Howard Kendall this year, but to mount a serious challenge, they'll have to develop the ability to kill off the opposition. Everything looking good at Bramall Lane. And Mark Ward and now Adrian Heath combine to give David White the chance to grab the lead. But City then allowed Sheffield United to get back into the game. Brian Deane, who used his head so effectively last week, gained another point for Dave Bassett's team. There's good work by Beasley here, and Brian Deane gets him well between the defenders.
Two points from their first 4 games, hardly the start the club wanted on their return to the top flight. Changes needed to be made, and club captain Paul Stancliffe, left out of the defeat at Southampton, was granted a free transfer and left first on loan to join his old club Rotherham.
Well, it was the situation with releasing Paul Stancliffe wasn't difficult because it was a professional decision to make at that time. As a person and an individual who had done great service for the club, yes, I didn't like doing it, but having said that, the club and players and managers are secondary compared with the club. So I made that decision that I felt that Paul wasn't going to be able to do a job for me week in, week out at centre-half in the First Division.
The very next day, the Wimbledon connection was struck up again as old boy Vinnie Jones rejoined his old manager in a £650,000 transfer from Leeds.
Obviously, Vinnie was a big signing after what he'd done at Leeds. I suppose there's always going to be a bit of animosity about Vinnie Jones coming because he's a high-profile character. But he come in and we wasn't getting results, and Harry looked at him as a leader, and he's come in. He was made club captain straight away. And he took control in the dressing room, to be fair. He's a bubbly character. He's had a lot to live up to. And part of the reason we've stopped up is through Vinnie Jones and his character in the dressing room taking us out onto the pitch. He's done a good job.
Vinnie Jones' first assignment as club captain, away to Southampton.
Matthew Letizia, another one hoping to catch Graham Taylor's eye, scored first with yet another fine individual goal. Then a Letizia corner, Osman's header rebounds off the bar, and Rod Wallace reacts quickly for the second goal. Sheffield still without a win in Division 1.
So, further strengthening of the squad still necessary, and during the following week, Dave Bassett signed former Sheffield Wednesday winger Brian Marwood from Arsenal for £300,000, with another £50,000 payable after 50 appearances. It brought the club spending to £2 million since the end of the previous season, £1 million in the past 10 days.
It was a bold decision by the club because we had utilised a certain amount of money during the summer, and with the signing of Brian Marwood, it meant that we'd spent just approximately £2 million on new players, which is a lot of money for Sheffield United, and they've never been involved in that type of figures before in the transfer market. But having said that, the board were very, very good. They were determined to support the football side, and I think they wanted to show the public of Sheffield that they were prepared to keep First Division football, if possible, at Sheffield United.
The second highest attendance of the season so far at Bramall Lane, 26,000, attracted by the home debuts of Vinnie Jones and Brian Marwood, the opponents, Leeds United.
And the two new boys gave Sheffield their first chance. Corner from Marwood, powerful header against the bar from Jones. But it was Leeds who went ahead with just 20 minutes to go. Scottish international Gary McAllister with a lovely cross for substitute John Pearson to head in. 1-0 to Leeds. Then came one of the most extraordinary goals of the season so far. Carl Bradshaw caught in possession, and Gordon Strachan on his own, with a very long way to go. And Strachan scored with a miss-hit shot, and he enjoyed every second of it. It's worth having a look at this amazing goal once again. Gordon Strachan collecting just inside the United half. 33 years of age, still very fit. The little legs pumping furiously, and just enough on the ball to squeeze it in and win the Yorkshire Derby. Another home draw for Chelsea. They conceded goals in the dying seconds of each half. Kevin Wilson, who scored 6 goals in Chelsea's last 5 games, opened the scoring after 25 minutes. Peter Nicholas on the ball. Wilson from 15 yards. Three minutes later, a similar goal to the one we saw Chelsea score last week. Kerry Dixon strong in the air. Wilson again. Kevin Wilson 2, Sheffield United 0. Just before half-time, Brian Marwood with the free kick. Vinnie Jones unmarked. His first goal for Sheffield United, past his old pal Dave Besant. In the second half, the only goal came right at the end. United battling away. Substitute Tony Ogana sets up a fine equaliser for Brian Dean. A point each, and that's enough to take Sheffield United off the bottom of the table. A big day for United's new signing Vinnie Jones, making his first appearance against the side that discovered him. Wimbledon striker John Gale was involved in a well-publicised punch-up at a training session in midweek with his captain Keith Curle. Fortunately, they buried the hatchet before the kick-off. Entertaining match, though. United took the lead after 14 minutes. David Barnes' left-foot shot flying in from the edge of the box. And Barnes obviously paid a visit to Vinnie Jones' barber in the week. 13 minutes later, in the swirling wind, Wimbledon equalised. Krasinski's shot smacks against the bar, and Carlton Fairweather, almost Van Basten-like skills, a spectacular overhead kick. Don striker John Gale then completed a miserable week by committing the second bookable offence on Vinnie Jones. United will be kicking themselves as Wimbledon's 10 men stole the points. Substitute John Fashanu grabbed his second of the season as Dave Bassett's old team pulled off a 3-point mugging of his new one.
So still no win, and after 8 games the Blades deep in relegation problems. But the Rumbelows Cup was providing better news after a 1-0 victory at Northampton, where Peter Duffield made his first senior appearance since fracturing his leg last season. The second leg at Bramall Lane gave United a 3-1 victory on aggregate and a home tie with Everton in the next round. Goalkeeper Simon Tracy, who had so unluckily fractured his cheekbone in the opening game of the season, was linked to a £750,000 move to Manchester United. But Dave Bassett reaffirmed his policy of building a team, not selling one. He reinstated the fit again Tracy for the away fixture at White Hart Lane.
Tottenham are making headlines before the game after the Stock Exchange suspended dealings in the club's shares. To make matters worse, England captain Gary Lineker was replaced by Paul Walsh after sustaining a head injury in the international against Poland. It didn't matter. Walsh proved to be more than a handful for Dave Bassett's side. Walsh forcing home his first goal after David Howell's header came back off the bar. Sheffield's misery increased in a moment of madness. Fullback David Barnes deliberately struck the ball against the linesman. And Barnes receiving the red card for a second bookable offence. Sheffield's 10 men overrun now. And Nahim continued his fine form this season by adding a second goal minutes later. Fine through ball from Walsh. Fine finish from the Spanish midfield man. And all this happened in the second half. Spurs on their way to their biggest league win of the season. Before today, Paul Walsh hadn't managed a goal. But he tormented the Sheffield defenders. Sheffield all at sea as Walsh jinks in once again. And he wasn't finished yet. Closing moments now. And the Walsh hat-trick from Paul Stewart. And Walsh in to beat Simon Tracy. 4 more goals for Spurs. They remain unbeaten and keep the pressure on Arsenal and Liverpool at the top of the table. Spare a thought, though, for Dave Bassett. 10 matches back in the First Division for his Sheffield United side and still no win. The worst run of his managerial career. When your luck's down, it can be a cruel game. A poor back pass here by Ian Bryson late in the second half. Cyril Regis first to react. Simon Tracy brings him down. It's a penalty. More practice for Brian Burrows. The Blades' First Division campaign distinctly blunted.
Derby's 1-0 win at Southampton meant that there was only one team yet to record a league victory. Yes, Sheffield United had now gone 10 games without a win and propped up the First Division. The Rumbelows Cup, though, continued to tell a happier tale. In the third round, the Blades beat Everton 2-1, the sending off of Dave Watson, opening the way for goals from Bradshaw and Dean. It proved too much for the Everton board, and their manager Colin Harvey was sacked the following day. The following Saturday, the Blades visited Norwich, looking for that elusive first league win.
Norwich looking to maintain that recent revival, welcomed a Sheffield United side fresh from a cup win over Everton. But after half an hour, well, a depressingly familiar story for United. That's David Phillips, and Tim Sherwood is in to beat Simon Tracy. Norwich looking much more like their old selves these days. And poor Sheffield, their troubles increased in the second half. Just can't get the ball away here. Vinnie Jones with one header out. But when Crook gets it back in, just look what happens. Own goal from Vinnie Jones, the United skipper. And the home side are 2 up. "15 minutes to go now. And in the pouring rain, Norwich put the icing on the cake. Lovely chip in, a lovely touch too from Power. Dale Gordon shot blocked, and David Phillips in for number 3. That's a good result for Norwich, but it leaves United, Dave Bassett's men, still searching for that elusive First League win. Howard Kendall was back in the Everton hot seat for the Merseysiders' visit to Bramall Lane. Kendall returned to the club he guided to 2 league titles and 3 FA Cup finals after an absence of 3 years. But no instant remedy to Everton's poor run in the league. which could easily have been extended. But for some fine goalkeeping from Neville Southall. A wicked swirler, that one, from Carl Bradshaw. Well, Stuart McCall almost earned Everton and Howard Kendall 3 points. His shot, though, crashed off the Sheffield United crossbar. It always looked like a draw, this one. United must be getting increasingly desperate for that first win.
Manchester United's expensive players have begun to look like a team recently, but it took them 65 minutes to score against sorry Sheffield United. Paul Ince causing problems in the Sheffield box. He knocks it back to Mark Hughes, on to Neil Webb, and he squares the ball to leave Bruce with a simple finish. 5 minutes from the end, a fine through ball here from Neil Webb. Danny Wallace takes it to the byline, pulls it back, and Mark Hughes, brave again, makes it 2-0. The Blades still without a win. They look firmly glued to the bottom of the table. Poor Sheffield United, the only team in the league without a victory, and apparently doomed to return straight to the second division. And with defending like this, it's hardly surprising. The Blades at 6s and 7s, or is it 6s and 11s? Wilf Rostron and Paul Beasley combining to give the ball away to Peter Davenport. And he sets up Marco Gabbiadini for a clinical finish. 1-0, Sunderland on their way to their first away win of the season. You'd think things couldn't get any worse, but they did. Another elementary error, again from Beasley, and Gabbiadini there again. Christmas had arrived a month early for the Sunderland striker.
A 10th minute Gordon Cowan's corner, helped on by Ian Ormondroyd, leaves David Platt with little more to do than claim the goal. Well, 1 goal's normally enough against Sheffield United. This time, it isn't. 5 minutes into the second half, skipper Vinnie Jones out-jumps the Villa defence. Villa missing the suspended centre-half Derek Mountfield. Not surprising, those fans are celebrating United's first goal in over 11 hours of league football. But the celebrations premature. Not a great deal to shout about once again for Dave Bassett's side. 10 minutes from time, fullback Chris Price. 2-1 to Villa, and poor United still haven't won all season.
15 games, still without a win, and only 7 goals scored in the league. And a week earlier, the Rumbelows Cup run had come to an end as Spurs won with 2 goals in the last 11 minutes. The injuries mounted up. Marwood, Barnes, Rostron, Lake, Pemberton and Tony Agana. Agana undergoing an operation to cure his ongoing back problem and out for at least a month. After loan periods at Rotherham and Wolverhampton Wanderers, Paul Stancliffe ended his long association with Sheffield United by signing for the second division promotion contenders Wolves. In all, Paul had played 342 games in 7 seasons for the Blades. Off the field, shareholders learnt that the club's debts had increased over £3 million. And at the end of a miserable week for the Blades, heavy overnight snow caused the postponement of the home game against Derby. Bassett was willing to try anything to motivate his players, now analysing their minds as well as training their bodies.
All that he did was coming and he pointed out 1 or 2 factors. He did 1 or 2 experiments, and the players responded in a jovial and an enthusiastic way, which was good. And I think a lot of people like to feel that possibly the sports psychologist was the reason that the results turned, but he was around for the Liverpool game, which we lost, and he never appeared again for us, and we went on from Forest. It was just a decision that I was made financially. It was too expensive to have a consultant from outside in London coming up to spend time, and also at the same time the players were calling him Simon the Psycho, which wasn't really conducive because they didn't feel that he was necessary, a football man with a particularly good football background. But having said that, it was well worth doing. It was something for me to look at and be flexible about, and certainly some of the aspects came out that we were doing some of the things in training that he was advocating.
Whatever the reason, maybe the turning point to the season came in the Zenith Data Systems Cup, where after going 2 goals down in the first 11 minutes, United came storming back for a most emphatic victory. In 1 cup tie, they'd scored as many goals as in 15 league games. With confidence boosted, United returned to league action at Anfield.
Liverpool top, Sheffield still without a win in the league, but United come out punching at Anfield. Ian Bryson going closest in the first half. Liverpool, though, return to the script with just over an hour played. Beardsley sets up John Barnes. In tights and gloves, you can see why the club are desperate for him to stay at Anfield. Quarter of an hour later, a debatable Liverpool goal, this one. Burrows with a high cross. United say the keeper is impeded there by Ian Rush. But Rush beats Tracy for his simplest and his 14th goal of the season.
Here's Dean. Taking Chettle with him. And it's a throw to Sheffield United, and you can sense the anticipation around the ground. At the menace, in the best possible sense, of Vinnie Jones in these situations. He does have the capability of hurling the ball a very long way. Like this. Oh, Crossley's lost it! A goal! Bryson! We're in the 3rd minute of the second half. And Sheffield United delight their supporters. They've got their noses in front here. And the long throw did all the damage. Right in at the near post where Crossley couldn't claim it. And eventually it was tucked in by Bryson. And thoughts for the Sheffield United supporters immediately turning towards perhaps the first victory of the season. But look at this, it's Roy Keane! Within seconds! And really typifying Sheffield United's season. They had the advantage and they've tossed it away straight from the kickoff. Franz Carr on the right, and the ball ran on through to a marauding young midfield player here. Keane, who's shown such promise in his first season with Forest. It's 1-1. Only seconds after the exultation here for Ian Bryson. Extraordinary. Taken up by Keane. Brian Laws. And Forest, when they get on top, are such a delight to watch with their passing game. They prefer to counter-attack, though, where they can find more space, but Jemson's doing well here, even though Sheffield United have got plenty of players back. Here's Keane, and that'll be another corner. Worked short by Carr and Jemson. And Forest want another corner, but Ray Lewis isn't going to give them one. Tracy just prevented the ball in its entirety crossing the line. Well met by Walker. And then for Sheffield United by Jones, whose show of strength is matched by Parker. And it's Keane again, with Pearce herring ahead of him. It's still Pearce. Nottingham Forest are in front. And this outrageous left-back, who scores goals at will, it seems, has done the trick for them. A captain's contribution from Stuart Pearce. And a second half that started sadly for Forest is really flying for them now. And Sheffield United heads are down. Having led 1-0, they trail by 2-1, and we've had 3 goals inside 10 minutes. Dean, Jones right in there. Suddenly Sheffield United have got a lot of players forward right from the restart, and the free kick awarded to them and taken quickly, and Bradshaw whips it in. That's Bryson! I do not believe it! Sheffield United have matched the Forest fire with fire of their own, and twice here we've had teams scoring goals and then conceding one straight away. Forest caught lacking a little in concentration. Bradshaw drove it across and Bryson angled the header perfectly. And no time to really enjoy for Stuart Pearce the satisfaction of a goal here, in which I think he got the better of Simon Tracy by taking the shot early with the outside of the left foot. That made it 2-1, now it's 2-2. Well, what more twists does this match have for us? Jones wasting no time in slinging in another cross. Crossley doesn't deal with it decisively. Against both posts from Bryson, it would have been the hat-trick. Jones again. And are the fates going to be cruel to Sheffield United once more? Aching to get a victory in the First Division. And Dean! Well, it might be premature to say that he could have supplied the win. We're only halfway through a quite amazing second half, in which both teams have led, but now it's Dave Bassett's men who are in front 3-2. Brian Dean. Well, Forest taking a leaf from Sheffield United's book, and oh, Tracy dropped it. Carr, who had been dealing with the long ball initially, very nearly got a present in injury time. It would almost be in keeping with the mood of this game. And the Sheffield United target at the moment to get the ball as far away from their own goal as possible. It's a question now of how long the referee wants to play into stoppage time, and Dean still looking to score rather than use up time. Walker setting off on a run of his own. It's all over! No wonder the hands go up in the air. They've finally done it. 3 First Division points from one match at the 17th time of asking. Sheffield United 3, Nottingham Forest 2. The sweet taste of victory at long, long last. Still at the foot of the table, but the only winners that week amongst the bottom 10 clubs, a marvellous Christmas present. And on Boxing Day, the team travelled to wet and windy Luton and that notorious plastic pitch. And with Vinnie Jones leading from the front, who would write off Sheffield United's chances of survival in the First Division? Carl Bradshaw with the overhead kick, showing that they're finding their feet. United, having recorded that first victory over Nottingham Forest, showed encouraging signs of life at Luton, with striker Brian Dean leading the way. Dean reacting well to the through ball to put Sheffield United into a well-earned lead. They haven't scored many this season, but Dean has got most of them, and he really looks the part in the First Division. And even at the back, Sheffield was showing a newfound resilience. Goalkeeper Simon Tracy equal to the best Luton had to offer from Lars Elstrup. The final word went fittingly to the irrepressible Jones. His 20-yard first-timer forcing Alec Chamberlain into a save. A second successive victory for Sheffield United, and Dave Bassett's men are bouncing back.
It's been a good Christmas for Sheffield United, 2 successive victories, and for a while it seemed as though their run would continue. Ian Bryson heading home, only the 5th league goal Arsenal have conceded at Highbury all season. It took a penalty to get Arsenal moving. Perry Groves unceremoniously bundled to the ground by who else but Vinnie Jones. The England fullback Lee Dixon sent Simon Tracy the wrong way from the spot. It was the signal for Sheffield to press the self-destruct button Paul Beasley, the unfortunate defender who put through his own goal after good work on the left by Nigel Winterburn. Arsenal 2-1 ahead and Liverpool now firmly in their sights. Winterburn continued to cause trouble whenever he came forward for Arsenal, and it was his run that set up their third goal. Paul Merson cross for Michael Thomas, the man whose goal clinched the championship 2 years ago, and the ball casually stroked home. He's learned a few new steps along the way. By now, Sheffield were a spent force, and with Arsenal dominating the game, huge gaps began to appear at the back. Paul Davis, the captain, in place of Tony Adams, found Alan Smith in splendid isolation for Arsenal's fourth. An emphatic win that puts them 1 point behind Liverpool at the top.
Sheffield United continued to put the pressure on those above them with their third win in 4 games. The only goal came with this header from Brian Deane. Rangers, though, should have equalised just 4 minutes later after this handball from Vinnie Jones. But quite amazingly, Roy Wegerle, who scored from 7 penalties this season, sends the ball over the top, and Rangers now are under real threat.
3 wins now in 4 games, and only unbeaten Arsenal able to blunt the blades. So what had turned things around?
Yeah, I think once we started getting a bit of a run together, you know, over the Christmas period, I think, you know, we got stronger. I think the result at Arsenal didn't really reflect how we played, and in the first half we could have easily been 3 up, you know, but for chances we didn't take. The QPR game wasn't really a good one, I think, from the spectators' point of view, but, you know, we got 3 points, and it just went from there.
Well, we played Nottingham Forest just before Christmas, and we was hoping Father Christmas would turn up with a present. He turned up with it 3 days early, and the scenes at the end of the game by the fans were sort of as you thought we'd won the European Cup. But from our point of view, we knew that we were due a win, and it was just unfortunate for Forest that they were playing us on our 17th league game, whereby we were under pressure for the worst record or start, for time led to believe, for a First Division club. But we wasn't really worried about that. We knew that we was going to win, and perhaps had we lost that, we'd have won the next few games. I think the spirit was right. We could look back on certain games early in the season, and particularly in the month of December, where we could have won games, but we didn't have that situation. But we knew that we were playing well, the morale was good in the team, and we felt that we were going to have a good win. We ended up going 1-0 up against Forest. They pulled it back to go 2-1 in front, which looked like, oh, here we go again. We've done well, we're going to lose. Then we equalised, and then we got the winner, and we had a last 10 minutes which was very hectic, and everybody was elated, and I think everybody was just elated to get a win in the First Division, because United hadn't won for a long time in the First Division, not only this season, but going back on their previous season. And we followed this up with a 1-0 victory at Luton on their plastic pitch on Boxing Day, and everybody was sort of looking up and thinking, God, Sheffield United won 2 games on the trot.
But Luton took some revenge for that league defeat in the 3rd round of the FA Cup. The Hatters took a 3-goal lead after some poor marking, and the Blades made a disappointingly early cup exit. Off the field, Darren Carr signed for Crewe in a £35,000 move. It was announced that Paul Woolhouse, a board member for 5 years, would take over as chairman after purchasing Reg Brealey's entire shareholding, leaving the former chairman with no connection with the club. And Wilf Rostron left Bramall Lane to take up the position of player coach at 3rd Division Brentford. Back on the field, United played host to 3rd place Crystal Palace.
Palace are 3rd, Sheffield United are bottom, but Palace making heavy weather of this encounter. In the 75th minute, Steve Coppell's side get the breakthrough. Eddie McGoldrick does the hard work. Mark Bright collects his 12th goal of the season. So Crystal Palace, beaten only twice all season, keep their title hopes alive. United have been showing signs of life in the past few weeks. 3 wins in 5 games. A shame for them then that their irascible captain Vinnie Jones chose this weekend to revert to type. His booking after just 5 seconds was quickly followed by a goal for Manchester City. Jones beaten to the ball by City player manager Peter Reid. The ball out to David White, whose low cross was turned home by Mark Ward. Well, whatever Sheffield manager Dave Bassett told his players at half-time, it obviously went straight in one ear and out of the other for Jones. 9 minutes after the restart, he was given the red card for a second bookable offence on Reed. Jones might consider himself unlucky to have been given his marching orders. All this as United received a Football Magazine's Fair Play Award before the start of the game. United's remaining 10 men were never likely to find their way back after that, and when Ward brilliantly curled home his second, the game was as good as over. A welcome victory for City, who'd lost their last 2 home matches, but the second division beckons for Bassett & Co.
That game against City was the first for Welsh international Glyn Hodges, signed on loan from Crystal Palace, initially for 1 month. Manchester City posted the same scoreline 4 days later in the Zenith Data Systems Cup. Again, it was Mark Ward with a brace of goals in a comfortable City victory. Out of all the cup competitions, United had only their relegation battle to concentrate on, starting with a home game against Derby.
Last weekend, while most of the First Division was occupied with FA Cup ties, the 2 bottom teams met in a league match postponed in December thanks to the blizzards. At that time, Sheffield United still hadn't won a league match. Since then, they've won 3 and 7, and Derby have only collected 2 points. Luck was with the Rams, though, when Ian Bryson's effort was ruled out by referee Gary Applin for a marginal offside. An honourable draw looked the likely result until the 88th minute, when a new arrival in Sheffield sealed the points. Welsh international Glyn Hodges, on loan from Crystal Palace, hit the winner and brought the Blades within 2 points of a remarkable escape from last place. So when United returned to Bramall Lane this weekend, they knew a win might even lift them out of the relegation zone. Bob Booker, standing in for suspended captain Vinnie Jones, gave them an early lead after just 20 minutes. A minute later, Booker captured his second prize, this time courtesy of Southampton's increasingly porous defence. Bryson's corner left Flowers floundering. Booker does the rest. A crowd of just under 17,000 at Bramall Lane must have been wondering what was going on when United made it 3 in 8 minutes. The Blades had rediscovered their sharpness in front of goal, and it was that man Hodges, clearly acclimatised to life away from London, his second in 3 games for Sheffield. On 29 minutes, Southampton's back 4 completed a collapse of England cricket proportions. Brian Deane beats the unfortunate Flowers. 4 goals for United in 10 minutes. Well, that just about killed the game as a contest. Southampton, though, did pull one back. Kevin Moore converts the corner. United could have made it 5 moments later when Deane was tripped by the unlucky Neil Ruddock to earn the Yorkshire side their first penalty of the season. John Gannon will be relieved that his wayward spot kick came at a time when the points were already safe. But United on the march again.
So those 4 goals in 10 minutes lift United off the bottom of the table, and relegation that once looked so inevitable now does seem avoidable. Next stop, away to Everton at Goodison Park.
Merseyside still buzzing after Everton's 4-4 FA Cup draw with Liverpool and the news of Kenny Dalglish's retirement. But for Tony Cottee, 2-goal hero in the Derby game, a starting place in the Everton side for the first time since December the 22nd. 2 minutes gone, Cottee on target once again. But Everton just can't find any consistency this season, with the Blades fighting a belated battle against the drop to Division 2. No surprise really, Glyn Hodges levels the scores. Hodges proving quite a hit during his spell on loan from Crystal Palace. 2 minutes to go, the Everton back 4 once again in trouble. Long clearance from Simon Tracy. Brian Deane makes a nuisance of himself, and Brian Marwood, chairman of the Soccer Players Union, stabs home the winner.
Sheffield United working the corner short, but not on this occasion very successfully. Gannon wins it back. Here's Bryson. He's done well. Oh, and Dean's unmarked! And Manchester United pay the price for that. So much of the credit, though, to Ian Bryson, who knew exactly what he wanted to do once he reached the ball that was played into the corner. to turn and to cross as quickly as possible into the far post area, and Brian Deane left all alone. The inquests go on for Manchester United. Robson. Well, it's certainly a night to remember for Darren Ferguson, wearing number 12, who's on as Manchester United substitute, the manager's son, 19 years old. Here's Wallace, drawing two towards him, and finally the corner conceded by Colin Hill. So Manchester United a goal down, but possibilities from the corner, which is met rather flapping by Tracy. Pallister heads it back, handball! A penalty for sure, and it's been given. And I think it was Vinnie Jones who put up an arm in desperation then, because Gary Pallister's looping header seemed destined for the back of the net, with Tracy caught off his line. And there's going to be a booking here for Jones, maybe for protesting rather than for the offence. But the goalkeeper won't be happy with his work, and he was stranded as Pallister got it back on target. Handball by Jones. Now Steve Bruce is Manchester United's regular penalty taker, but he's out injured tonight. The responsibility passing to Clayton Blackmore. This for 1-1. Just. Tracy very nearly redeemed his mistake. So Sheffield United had led for 2 minutes. It's always special, although Manchester United's priorities over the remainder of this season very much in cup competitions. They do bring a magic wherever they play, and Brian Deane takes them on here in front of the biggest Bramall Lane crowd of the season. Pallister doesn't get it very far, and Gannon trying to steer it back first time. It was certainly worth the effort, as the ball broke loose off Pallister for the first time shot from Gannon. Deane pulling to the right and getting space because of that, wasting no time in trying to deliver the ball into the centre. It's so much the Dave Bassett trademark, but it's certainly not kick and rush. There's a lot of thought as to where the long passes are to be played. And it's a corner here to be delivered by Glyn Hodges. Beasley's come forward, off the line and off the bar. Irwin. And it carries the fight forward for Manchester United. But Beasley was so unlucky. And here's Irwin, who's just saved Manchester United, trying to put them in front, and he would have done but for Tracy. Hodges with the corner, and met very powerfully by Beasley coming in, and up and onto the bar off the boot of Irwin. Nice cue by Lee Martin, and Sheffield United wasting no time in getting the game going again. Trying to play the match at a quick pace. Wilder. Jones given room to whip it in. And that was Hodges, who came across the line of defenders, and no one went with him. And this a move of bygone days at Wimbledon between Jones and Hodges. And it very nearly put Sheffield United in front. Put out by Donaghy. Manchester United very much a reshaped side tonight, with A number of injuries, and possibly Alec Ferguson just taking the opportunity to shuffle his pack, bearing in mind the cup battles that lie ahead. Will they be able to withstand what is becoming something of a Sheffield United assault here? Long throw from Jones. Just too high for Dean. Owen should be able to clear, and was trying to trick Hodges. He's very anxious to take the throw quickly and keep Manchester United pen back. But in the end, he thinks better of it, because he recognises the threat that will come from Vinnie Jones. Booker's come up on the near post, and he's got to it, and he's set up a goal for Carl Bradshaw. So Manchester United found wanting in the air defensively again. And Bob Booker, from the missile from the hands of Vinnie Jones, turns goal maker for Bradshaw. Four wins in a row now, and the Blades are climbing the table. Next, it was a visit to Aston Villa.
It was only a few months ago when a fixture at Bramall Lane was 3 points in the bag, but things have changed. Kevin Gage's awful back pass allows in Ian Bryson just after half-time. 5 minutes later, Gordon Cowan's corner is met by Derek Mountfield for an Aston Villa equaliser. But Villa, missing David Platt and Tony Daly, couldn't prevent Brian Dean getting his 14th goal of the season. United have now won 5 games on the trot.
In the relegation struggle at Roker Park, Sheffield United continued their amazing recovery against their fellow strugglers Sunderland with their 6th win on the trot. The only goal of the game on 56 minutes. A long clearance misjudged by Sunderland's Gary Bennett, and Ian Bryson going through to make it 1-0. Sunderland did manage to get the ball into the net, but Kieran Brady's effort was disallowed for offside, and 3 points for Sheffield United to take them out of the bottom 3 in the table for the first time this season.
6 successes in a row, closing in on the club record of 8 First Division wins set in 1903. Now 14th in the table, with a host of illustrious clubs having at least as many relegation worries.
The difference between winning and losing is that it can be a habit either way, and the fact that we had now won 6 games on the trot, the confidence was that we could win games. And also what was happening possibly for us in these games, it wasn't we was playing particularly much better than we had been earlier in the season. We were getting 1 or 2 breaks that were going our way, which wasn't necessarily going in the way of the opposition. Whereas earlier in the season we would hit the crossbar and we wouldn't get the rebound in. The opposition were doing that. Now in this spell we were doing this and we were getting our goals. But there was a belief within the team, a fierce belief in their own ability that they could succeed.
Captain Vinnie Jones was suspended from Chelsea's visit to Bramall Lane, and another Blade had received a large club fine.
Glyn Hodges was enjoying his loan period from Crystal Palace until this week, when he was fined £2,000 by United for a headbutting incident after last week's game against Sunderland. A lengthy suspension seems likely to follow. United were searching for their 7th win in a row, their best performance in the First Division for 88 years. 85 minutes gone, Chris Wilder crosses at the second attempt, Besant gropes, and Ian Bryson supplies the finish that makes it 21 out of the last 21 points for Dave Bassett's revitalised side.
Jones back on his old stamping ground at Plough Lane, along with Dave Bassett, who dragged Sheffield United out of the relegation zone with 7 wins on the trot. Against Wimbledon, they're going for win number 8, but it's the Dons who take the lead. Mickey Bennett for the veteran Alan Cork. The Dons won up midway through the first half. United back into the game in the second half. Typically long throw from Vinnie Jones, and watch for a bizarre handball. That's John Fashanu. What's he doing there? Brian Dean, and that's 1-1. United also claim they should have had another penalty soon after. Similar situation, Jones' throw. Fashanu up with a hand again. Did that make contact with his hand? Let's have another look. Well, the referee says no. United denied their 8th win on the trot, but it's still a valuable away point for Dave Bassett's side. At Bramall Lane, Dave Bassett's United could make virtually certain of avoiding the drop with a win against Luton, and Luton themselves in deep trouble at the bottom. 14 minutes gone, and Lars Elstrup with a neat header, his 17th of the season. Ten minutes into the second half, United get their equaliser. A long ball played into the area, and the Luton keeper Alec Chamberlain won't be too happy with this particular punch. Ian Bryson gets his 4th in 5 games. Now, Glyn Hodges has become a huge favourite at Bramall Lane. He starts off the move that leads to United's winner. Hodges has come on loan from Palace. Brian Deane carries it on, and it's Hodges who gets in with a superb glancing header. He's due to complete a permanent move to United in the next fortnight. Sheffield United's impressive run. 8 wins in 9 matches comes to an abrupt end at the City Ground against Nottingham Forest. Nigel Clough, a perceptive pass from him, putting Tommy Gaynor clear. And Gaynor lobs Simon Tracy in the United goal. Gaynor only back in the side for the injured Nigel Jemson. 8 minutes from time, Forest wrap it up with a second. Ian Wone does all the hard work. His shot beats Tracy, and then Gaynor pokes it over the line. 2-0 to a Forest side without 5 first-team regulars. It could have been 3 as well. The United defence biting in unfairly. And that's a penalty and a chance for Nigel Clough. But Clough's shot hits the bar and goes over. But Forest comfortably take all 3 points.
So the unbeaten run ends at 9 games, but as a result of the vastly improved form, Dave Bassett received the Barclays Manager of the Month award for March, a terrific individual honour from a wonderful team effort. The award was made just before the home game against league leaders Arsenal. Bryson drops for Dean. He needs some support. He's got Hodges to the left. Or maybe he doesn't need too much support. A pass release now. Hodges might still get the ball across. Strong work from the player that the supporters are contributing to the funds to secure his services on a longer-term basis. They've been running a sweepstake here in conjunction with the famous horse race, the Grand National, which is being run this afternoon. It was Jones who didn't quite back a winner that time, but it was a promising position. Two up for Arsenal, Smith and Campbell. Now, can Campbell use his strength? He does do! He tucks it away, and his run continues. And Arsenal, who've had quite an awkward 10 minutes, come out of their shell to take the lead. It came off Beasley, and Campbell was too forceful for Booker. And Bob Booker lost the battle. Sheffield United lost the goal to Kevin Campbell. Bryson might fall for him. Now, who's going to come out of this mess in possession? Well, it's Dixon who clears. Campbell who shrugs Beasley aside. Smith is there with him. Smith takes it early and steers it home with real style. And Arsenal have broken out to take a 2-goal lead. With 17 minutes left. And the force of Campbell very much to the fore again. And how well Smith took that first time. He's got a great streak going as well. 5 now in 3 games for Smith. 2 defeats in a row. Sheffield United in 15th place with 5 games remaining. Mathematically not out of relegation difficulties, but realistically safe. The Arsenal game was Glyn Hodges' last of the season. He started a 6-game ban as the Blades visited Queen's Park Rangers. Marwood leaves it, taken by Gannon. Vinnie Jones who flicked it on, and in goes Dean! And that's a great save on the line by the last-ditch tackle from Peacock. Jones helped it on, and as Stejskal came, Dean got the better of him, but not the better of Peacock. Dean. It's a good try. It was an instinctive reaction from Brian Dean to look for goal even from that distance. And he connected very cleanly. Here's Bryson. One for Sheffield United to fight for in the centre. And that was Booker trying to launch himself, played back by Pemberton. Well, Queen's Park Rangers, 11 games unbeaten. They're not finding it easy against the Sheffield United side, who know that they will be safe if this match goes well for them. And you talk about a game of 2 halves, an old football cliche. For Sheffield United, it's been a season of 2 very distinctive halves. You'd have bet before Christmas that come this fixture, they'd already be relegated. As it is, they push on again. And again, it's Marwood and Gannon deliberating over the free kick. Taken by Gannon. And Brian Dean is claiming that he got the touch then. More joy for Sheffield United. And Queen's Park Rangers have struggled at defending at the set pieces. Came off Peacock. Was it handball by Marwood? Queen's Park Rangers stopped for a moment. The referee played on, and a flick header by Tony Agana. But Stejskal will cope comfortably. Agana. Struggling Tilson aside. And certainly any team fielded by Dave Bassett will give a good account of itself physically, and Sheffield United are working very hard. And Ray Wilkins and company are not being allowed to play their passes forward, but Bradley Allen has got a goal out of very little indeed. Well, I suppose it's easy to say it's in keeping with a member of the Allen dynasty. And suddenly Queen's Park Rangers are level 6 minutes before half-time. He hit it. Well, was it supposed to go across the goal? It certainly went into it. Agana. Pemberton's cross. Gannon. Peacock kept it out. Here's Jones. More pressure from Sheffield United. And Rangers might be able to work the ball to safety, as they so often do, through Andy Sinton. But he couldn't find Wegerle. Well, it's still 1-1, but only just. It's a good turn by Jones to try and wrong foot Queen's Park Rangers. And Simon Barker in the right place. Barker. Now Brevet. Hoisted high, Sheffield United style by Barker. Tracy came for it. Parker. United hoping for an offside, but the flag stayed down. Now Wilkins. These are difficult times for Sheffield United. A great try by Brevet. Connected superbly. Great save by Tracy. United backpedaling. Beasley's header, and Marwood in trouble here against Parker. Wegerle! Well, it's a corner, and the header actually hit Bob Booker. Otherwise, Rangers, you feel, would be celebrating taking the lead. Dean. Brevet, who played all his football before coming here in Yorkshire, of course, with Doncaster Rovers. Will know quite a lot about Sheffield United, I'm sure. Pemberton. Oh, and Booker! Is that the goal that secures Sheffield United's place in the First Division for another season? It may well be. Bob Booker, who played his football down the road from here at Brentford, very much at home in West London. Rangers run, which has eased worries for them, is over. Their unbeaten run, but Sheffield United survived. That's the big news from Loftus Road.
Well, Sheffield United made sure of their First Division future last week, and perhaps a bit of complacency creeping in. They go 2 down to Spurs at Bramall Lane. Cross from Paul Stewart, and Justin Edinburgh hammers it in. The young fullback's first goal for Spurs on 67 minutes. 5 minutes later, Spurs go 2 up. They break free from their own area. That's Vinnie Samways in the clear. Just one defender facing him. Samways hits the bar, and Walsh is first to the rebound. 2-0 Spurs, and now United get their act together and they stage a remarkable comeback. Just 12 minutes to go, Paul Beasley heads home. And Dave Bassett's side confirm what great fighting spirit they have. The last minute of the game here, Brian Dean past Torsved. Dean celebrates his call-up to the England B squad, his 17th of the season, a score draw.
But a goalless draw away at Coventry in a match of few chances. Next came a game that United supporters were really looking forward to, a trip to Leeds.
Meantime, the Yorkshire derby at Elland Road, Mel Sterland with a free kick from just outside the box, Leeds in front, just 11 minutes gone. It stays that way till half-time. Dave Bassett's sides, though, typically push Leeds all the way. 7 minutes after the interval, they get their equaliser. A run into the box from Dean. His shock half-blocked by Lukic. Brian Marwood with the easiest of tap-ins. But just 3 minutes later, Leeds regain the lead, thanks to some appalling United defending. Bob Booker's terrible back pass. Carl Schutt is through. He beats Simon Tracy with ease. Leeds 2, Sheffield United 1. Well, Norwich the visitors to Bramall Lane, and they go ahead after just 10 minutes. Defender John Polston forces it home from close range. Dave Bassett's side get their momentum going after that. 3 minutes later, they're level. Tony Agana's been dogged by injury nearly all season, but he had a really good last day of the season, going past 2 defenders to get the equaliser. All the scoring in the first 20 minutes, and United make sure of all 3 points. Agana once more doing the damage. A really clever turn from him, and he beats Walton in the Norwich goal. Sheffield United 2, Norwich 1.
A final league placing of 13th, unlucky for some, but not for Sheffield United. That early sadness swept aside in a very eventful season.
Yes, to say it was an eventful season is an understatement, really. The early part of the season was extremely traumatic, followed by some elation with some victories that were never expected and a run that was never expected, culminating with everybody at Sheffield United having an exciting time. Probably it couldn't have been written in a book that way. But obviously everybody at Sheffield United is delighted. I'm delighted for the fans of the outcome. The board have supported the club throughout. We've had a team spirit throughout the club, on and off the field. But I think what the season has shown, it's given all the moods of football and shows what a volatile and moody business it is. And having said that, at the end of the day, it's all about everybody pulling together, doing the best for Sheffield United. I'm doing that, the players are doing that, the directors are doing that, and the fans are supporting that. All that we want to go on is to give better things for Sheffield United and become a club to be reckoned with in the future.
I've got some personal ambitions for next year. Every club I've seemed to have left has got it to Wembley. I left Palace and they got to the Zenith Data final. I left Wimbledon, they got to the FA Cup final. I left Newcastle, they got to the Mercantile Credit Centenary year. So I mean, I'm destined never to play at Wembley. So personally, that'd be a big thing for my career, and we've definitely got a good chance next year, and hopefully that'd be my own personal ambition. On a professional note, team ambitions is to get a better start, a much better start than they did last year, and to give ourselves a good stepping stone for perhaps Europe, or definitely Europe. I mean, you know everyone's perhaps will laugh if you say that they'll win the title, but I mean, if you can maybe get to Europe in that season, and then it's a stepping stone for greater things. But I mean, there's a few ambitions. We surprise a lot of people, and I'm sure we're going to surprise a lot more, I think.
Looking forward to next season, I think we can definitely look to go places. I think the run we had has convinced us that, you know, we're good enough to live with the best. When you think about it, I mean, it's just 11 versus 11. I'm really pleased for the fans, really, because, you know, they've never let us down. You know, the fans away from home, tremendous, you know, and that has kept us going a lot of the time. You know, when you look at where we were, you know, I think most of the tickets for the away games were always sold. That's a big tribute to them.
But what a memorable season. 16 games before that elusive first win, but after that Sheffield United really looked the part back in the First Division.